He's been in the fight since he was 6 years old, but now Cassian Andor is about to make the jump from fringe fighting to binge watching.
How you get so big into food of this kind?
Alright, we have even more Star Wars television news, and this time it is not about The Mandalorian, it is not about Resistance, it is about the yet unnamed but probably named Cassian Andor television show. Of course, Cassian Andor is Diego Luna's character from Rogue One. We will now be seeing the character again in what I must assume is a prequel series. Diego Luna will be reprising his role. On StarWars.com, we see that Bob Iger has announced a new live-action show for Disney Plus, which is now the official name of Disney Netflix, their direct-to-consumer streaming service. The series will go into production next year and follows the adventures of rebel spy Cassian Andor during the formative years of the rebellion and prior to the events of Rogue One. Diego Luna seems very excited to join, and I'm very excited to have him back because he seems like a genuinely wonderful human being. This rousing spy thriller will explore tales filled with espionage and daring missions to restore hope to the galaxy that is in the grip of the ruthless Empire. All we really know is that the show will star Cassian and has Diego Luna back. There is no other information on anybody else who might be in the show right now, who else might be making the show. I have a sneaking suspicion, if you look over at Diego Luna's IMDb page, that while he is an actor, he also has credits in producing, directing, and has been trying his hands at writing. There's been absolutely nothing said on the subject, but I kinda wonder if this show might not just be a kind of acting vessel for him, but maybe they'll let him kind of try his production chops at the series as well. Now, of course, that is just pure shot in the dark kind of speculation on my part that has been in no way announced, but what I think is interesting is that they are leading the announcement of the show with who's starring in the show, which, if you look at The Mandalorian, we know who's producing it, we know who's directing it, it's like we know everything about it but the cast at this point. So it's kind of interesting that this is almost kind of working in reverse. So that has me kind of wondering if Diego Luna is not also involved, at least in a producer capacity, just because that's the type of person you would want on board a project at this stage. A producer is the type of person that's kind of bringing the people together and building the crew and building the cast before everything kind of gets set into motion. That's really my only evidence. It's very circumstantial evidence that maybe he will be involved behind the scenes as well. But again, time will tell. But with that, let's kind of get into some more that we might be able to glean about the show itself, not just the production. Kind of go through a who, what, where, when, why, how of the series. So, who? Who is Cassian Andor, obviously, but there's also room for a lot of other characters here. This is being set between episodes 3 and 4. This is the same time period we had Rebels in. There was always kind of this thought during Rebels if we might see some of these Rogue One characters, but now perhaps we're going to start seeing some of these Rebel characters in a Rogue One kind of prequel show. I'm not really anticipating any of the other kind of Rogue One central characters because all the other members of the crew kind of met over the process of the movie, but we might see characters like Mon Mothma, Bail Organa, maybe some tie-ins with Saw Gerrera. I'm seeing a lot of people kind of speculate that. I'm not sure about that because I don't see a lot of Saw or Saw's people recognizing Cassian, so I'm not sure that they go way, way, way back, but, maybe there's a chance encounter. People are wondering if K2SO is going to be in the show. We really don't know. The relationship between Cassian and K2SO has actually been talked about in a comic already, one I have not read yet, but now I'm definitely bumping up on my priorities list to read. The two other characters I'm the most excited to think about maybe being in this show would be Kallus and Ahsoka, and the reason why I'm excited about that is they're all fulcrums. So if you watch Star Wars Rebels, you know that Ahsoka Tano was kind of like the first fulcrum, this intelligence agent that kind of goes through and tips the scales and does all these crazy things. And then when Kallus defected to the rebellion, he became a fulcrum. Well, Cassian Andor is also a fulcrum. And so I'm kind of interested to see, will they at least talk about Tano? Will this be kind of like the first live-action reference towards her as a character? Will we even see her as a character? Is she going to personally recruit Cassian into her kind of order of fulcrums? Are Cassian and Kallus going to interact? I tried looking this up, and we don't actually know who became a fulcrum first, Cassian or Kallus. My personal guess would be Cassian, just because he's been in the rebellion in intelligence longer, but both of them would be highly qualified. Kallus was an intelligence officer. He was just an intelligence officer for the other side. And like I said, it would be great to see the Organas or Mon Mothma or kind of see the inner workings of the rebellion, see Radis, see Merrick, a lot of these other characters that kind of get brought up in Rogue One that we don't get to spend a lot of time with. The what in this list of questions is a little bit more vague right now. We know Cassian, and we know it will be a spy show, so it'll probably involve a lot of the Empire. But that's really about it. That's about all we got. The notion of a spy thriller show in Star Wars is something that I was not expecting us to like see come to screen. It certainly goes a long way into kind of refuting the Disneyfication, everything's for kids now kind of claims that a lot of people have been levying towards the Disney era Star Wars. What I'd really like to see with this is one of my favorite lines from Cassian in Rogue One is when he's yelling at Jyn and he's like, you know, I've been in the fight since I was 6 years old and you're just showing up here and suddenly the rebellion's real to you and I don't have the luxury of getting to blah blah blah. You know, he goes on this spiel. That is the scene where I kind of connected to Cassian the most. That, you know, he's this guy who's walked this morally gray line, but he doesn't walk the morally gray line because the gray is cool or anything. He does it because he's seen war since he was 6. He was actually a separatist during the times of the prequel trilogy. You know, we're so used to seeing people from the rebellion who were under the Republic and they want to tear the Empire down to bring back the Republic, but Cassian was a guy who was fighting against the Republic, and now he's fighting against the Empire. And to see that kind of perspective, I think could be really, really interesting just from the standpoint of seeing that in canon for once, and could also be pretty interesting in light of the world around us. The where might be the only thing on this list that's a little bit more vague than the what. I can assume that we would see some very well-known rebellion bases, such as, you know, Yavin 4, that type of thing. We know that Cassian is from the planet of Fest, so maybe we would see some of his homeworld. Basically, the main thing is I can tell you is that the series will probably in some way involve space. That's really the best guess I have. When? Now, when is an interesting question. When, obviously, it has to be before Rogue One, unless they're going to get really creative. I feel like this has to take place fairly close to Rogue One, if for no other reason than Diego Luna is playing Cassian again. Unless they're going to drastically de-age him, I don't think he's going to play a 16-year-old Cassian for the majority of the show. Now, we may see flashbacks to a younger Cassian as a child, as a teenager, and I wouldn't rule that out for the series, but I think that the main function of the series is going to be to show him in the years, this close years, leading into Rogue One. The why? Well, the why is because why not? I mean, as I alluded to earlier, there's been people talking about, like, hey, you know, where's the stuff for us? You know, this resistance thing isn't what we like. And even if you're excited about the Clone Wars, there's probably some people who are just not excited about the notion of Lucasfilm animation in general. And now suddenly we have 2 TV series. One's about a gunslinging Mandalorian, and now is a rebellion spy. So you kind of both have these darker series, really just because Rogue One characters deserve more love and attention, I guess. I mean, the strongest part of Rogue One was 100% the characters, and it's unfortunate because of the untimely end of so many of them that we didn't get to spend a whole lot of time getting to know them, and we don't have the potential to see their stories after. Now, of course, Jyn had the novel Rebel Rising, where we got to know her before the movie, and we have the novel Catalyst, which kind of goes into Orson Krennic and Galen Erso's kind of frenemy-ship, but it will be really nice to kind of get to know Cassian, and he probably has the story that's best set up for an episodic story told over a couple of seasons. And then the how. As I said, this will be on the Disney Plus streaming system. This is going to come out next year. It's going to launch, and either launch with or launch and then soonly after we will have The Mandalorian, as well as the 7th and final season of Star Wars The Clone Wars. Also a part of this streaming service, not in the Star Wars versus, they're going to for sure have a Loki show with Tom Hiddleston. I've been seeing that the Scarlet Witch show was confirmed, but I haven't seen a whole lot on that. She might just be getting out-shouted by the Loki's army folk. I think that one is also happening. So there's going to be a lot going on in the streaming service. And every day it seems to be a little bit more worth whatever the buy-in price is going to be, but also makes me concerned about how high that buy-in price is going to be. But that's something we currently don't know anything about yet. But those are kind of my best guesses about the series. I'm really excited to see where the series goes. I'm really excited to hear more about it. I'm assuming, because it's not even going into production until next year, the earliest we'd probably see it is 2020, which means we'll probably have some things coming out of Star Wars Celebration, but it might be limited to concept art or production photos. I don't even know if they will be in production by the time of Celebration. Let me know what your thoughts and hopes and speculations are for this show in the comments. If you're not already, please follow us at Port Haven Forums on Twitter and visit port-haven.com for even more. And until next time, keep it real and fly casual.
Cooking candies are